When's the last time you let yourself enjoy the peace of doing absolutely nothing? This week on Carlie's Couch, we discuss its importance.
Hello. Welcome to Carlie's Couch. Thanks for joining us once again.
Very excited to have you here. And I'm also very excited about this week's question from the couch. I was inspired because I was driving and there's a little bit of traffic and I was like, what am I going to listen to? And I started listening to Disney songs and it flew by. So this week's question from the couch is, what's your favorite Disney song?
So I don't know the first one. One person said Hellfire from Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Me neither. This next one I'm in alignment with. They said a very toxic bop, I'll Make a Man Out of You. And that was 3 other people plus me.
And a lot of people said Goofy Movie songs, which I know that whole movie.
Eye to Eye. You'll Be in My Heart, Tarzan. And then Why Should I Worry, Oliver and Company. Man, that's really a Billy Idol song. I didn't know that because I looked it up on Spotify, but he hit that hoe. He was walking around with his little hot dog necklace and made me think about you because I watched the video. Oliver, the little dog from Oliver and Company, he like stole a little hot dog necklace, so he's like walking around with this little hot dog necklace singing Why Should I Worry.
Oh, another one is Almost There by Princess Tiana.
Also love that one. Be Our Guest by Beauty and the Beast.
Part of Your World, The Little Mermaid.
A Whole New World, Aladdin.
And then Everybody Wants to Be a Cat, The Aristocats. Those are all pretty classic songs. Well, I don't know a couple of them, but some of those are pretty classic.
Any that we're missing that need to be on here?
There's no Lion King songs on here.
Fair.
Hakuna Matata.
Scar's song was a bop too.
Oh yeah, that's low key. Be Prepared is the one. Yeah, there's a few. That's all I can think of right off the top of my head right now.
Yeah, but if you are having a long drive in traffic, throw on some Disney. Unless you have
It's probably
kids.
already a playlist time for it.
Well, I was searching for singular songs, but there were a bunch of Disney playlists on Spotify and Apple. But if you have kids, I'm sure you're probably tired of listening to that.
They probably don't listen to that though. I think kids now, they don't listen to like Disney songs as much.
Well, my millennial friends who are parents make their kids like those songs because they've had them listen to it. So she was like, I am so tired of Lion King and everything Lion King ever.
Aww.
So at least they're not losing too many recipes. One can hope. But anyways, so this week I want to talk about the importance of doing nothing. I was actually inspired by my best friend Kim because she loves a good dilly-dally. Like she really enjoys not doing anything. Like idly sitting. I'll call her and be like, hey, what you doing? Oh, I'm just sitting here. Like an old woman. She's been doing that since we were in our early 20s. Actually, since we were almost teenagers. Was that when I met her? Yeah, before we were 21. Anyways, and I found myself sitting and doing nothing and was inspired by how refreshed I felt. So, yeah.
So what did that look like for you?
So I actually got sick, which is not what you should do to not do anything. But then I just allowed myself to rest and I wasn't on my phone. I wasn't watching movies. I was kind of just chilling on the sick couch. And I just noticed a boost in my creativity. Some clarity on some stuff I've been mulling over for a little bit and trying to figure out and rest. It just felt really nice to just sit and allow myself time just to be.
Is doing nothing the same as meditating in this case?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say it's different because when I'm meditating, I'm doing something. I feel like it's an intentional, I'm sitting. Well, I guess they're both intentional at this point. I don't know. I'll have to sit with that. But I feel like when I'm meditating, I'm trying to either focus on a thing or clear out my head. But there's an intention. Whereas when I'm doing nothing or herkle-derkling, shout out to the Scottish people, that I am just setting aside time to be and not having an end goal or a goal around it.
Okay, so then how often do you allow yourself to do that on a regular? And you said this doesn't include scrolling your phone or watching TV. Those are the easy do nothings, but I'm guessing you mean really, really, really do nothing. How often do you do that?
I get moments because I've tried to be been being intentional. So every day I would say I at least get like 2 to 3 minutes minimum. But that's because I've noticed that I don't want to feel the compulsion to always have to be on my phone. So if I'm sitting in line, I try to be present. If I'm at the park and I'm like reading my book, I take a break and I like look around and I just like, see the people and feel the sun and try to ground and be present. Like I think anytime you're intentionally present, like that's kind of doing nothing. So I would say I have some every day. What about you?
No, I don't do nothing very often. Maybe I'll take a break from time to time, but I'm always going to be doing something, even if I'm like singing or going through my music or doing a thing. So I don't think that I just sit and do nothing. I wouldn't say I do that very often.
Yeah, I don't think that most people probably do, actually. I think the majority of society probably doesn't. And I mean, we live in a capitalistic society. Money is time. You got to get stuff done. You want to be productive. You don't want to feel bad about that. But I think sometimes we miss the intention of just being able to be present. I think it's easier like on vacation when you're sitting on the beach and you're looking at the ocean, when you like have scheduled time to do nothing. But I feel like for the majority of people probably actually don't ever schedule time in their schedules to do nothing. And I think it could actually be really important.
I mean, it is important to rest and recharge. And I will say that for people who maybe spend a lot of time and watch TV or are sitting down but scrolling your phone, that is actually probably not the best way to recharge. I do also think that there are other things you can do that allow you to rest and recharge. But the things that we call rest sometimes aren't. So definitely would say to be aware of that or pay attention to that.
Yeah, I think it's important. I was looking at the scientific benefits, like why it's actually important. And some of them were like pretty easy to understand. So like it aids your brain in problem solving. And so if you ever tried to solve something and you just kept running into a wall and couldn't, if you take some time away and you come back, usually it's always easier to then solve said thing. And so that helps. I said that it helped me boost my creativity. And I think that was just because I had a break from consumption, to be quite honest. I don't know if it's a facet of just doing nothing, but I think we've had an episode about how over consuming can really kill your creativity. And so anytime you're not consuming, it allows it to flourish a little better.
Yeah, one of the reasons why a lot of times we don't sit with ourselves and do absolutely nothing is because we're probably not used to sitting with our own thoughts or kind of looking inward as much for kind of maybe clarity or just to like check in with yourselves. And so it is interesting that when you are taking that time to not consume and when you're taking that time to do nothing, then it's almost like your brain's like, oh, you're actually here for me to talk to you now. And that's why sometimes you'll get like interesting ideas or thoughts. Also, I mean, and part of some types of meditation practices that it's like you kind of see like what thoughts arise. And, it kind of also is interesting that when you're trying to do nothing or if you're trying to meditate, for example, some of the things that come up will try to tell you to go do a thing or think about this or write this thing down. That's what happens to me a lot. If I'm not necessarily doing something, I can tell I'm being pulled in different ways. And so you can also pay attention to that and be like, no, it's, I can just sit down right now and challenge your brain to do that reset because it's not always intuitive for us to be able to like take a break, look inside, and then get these creative ideas or something that clicks that you would not have been able to experience if you were trying to like work through things.
I think that's so important. They talk about how there's a quote that's like, there's no growth or learning without reflection. Mm-hmm. And even like working in schools, working with teachers, so often like because time is so short and there's always so much to do, reflection is always the piece that gets cut from everything. But if there's no learning or no growth without reflection, then what's really, what can we really learn? What can we really grow if we're never really sitting with ourselves and always just running to the next thing? And as you talk more, I see that a lot of these same benefits come from meditation. And so like that's an intentional like time with yourself. Maybe doing nothing is just intentional time for yourself. That's not like focused on an outcome.
Yeah, if somebody was trying to challenge themselves to take more time to themselves to do nothing, what I would recommend is like some type of meditation where it's like just sit down and try to sit down and be still for a couple of minutes or however long, like not to necessarily do a thing, but just literally sitting still will give you some type of experience that will inform you how comfortable you are with that.
Yep. Some other benefits from allowing yourself that time to be present, or just sit intentionally is, we already talked about allowing your brain to take in new info, because it gives it time to process and consolidate the information you've already stored. Like if you study real hard at night, you give yourself time to sleep, you wake up in the morning, you feel more refreshed, you can actually learn things. But it can also help increase productivity. That's why we always talk about the Pomodoro method, which is like 20 minutes focus on a task, 5-minute break, 20 minutes on, 5 minutes off, because that taking those breaks allows your brain to do little sprints, and it can show up in full force as opposed to trying to force it to do something for hours on hours.
Yeah, I don't think we're meant to be straining our eyes and our minds so much, especially when it comes to work things and looking at computers and screens all day. So that's very important. And also, just like you mentioned with sleep, like that's literally like what you're doing at night. There's a certain time and certain type of sleep that allows you to actually kind of store the memories for the day and like allow your brain to actually kind of refocus and reset. And so, of course, it's helpful to also do that during the day and to take that moment to take a step back as well.
Being present and taking time to do nothing can also help you reflect on what's going on around you and being able to be more present, seeing, the people who are unhoused on the street, seeing like things you actually care about, maybe showing up for some causes you recognize you haven't. And so inspiring kindness and helping you show up. And then also it helps you to rest and recharge, which helps you regulate your nervous system and regulate your emotions and uplift your mood.
Mm-hmm. And your mood can be uplifted too simply because you're reminding yourself that you can sit down, and that it's almost like when you do slow breathing and tell your body that you're safe. Sometimes you just sit down, take a deep breath, or if you're outside and look around or whatever, you can just use that as a moment to have practice gratitude and to just feel good about the moment.
Yeah, one of my favorite quotes is, if you don't have, I can't remember if it's 5 or 15 minutes, which I say is my favorite quote. I believe it's 15, but if you don't have 5 minutes to yourself, shout out to Tony Robbins, then you don't have a life. And even 2 to 5 minutes, they said, of like scientific research shows that 2 to 5 minutes of this idleness, of this mindfulness, of this being present can scientifically impact your body, your nervous system. And so thinking about how you can bring in 2 to 5 minutes of this in each and every one of your days this week.
So here's some ways that we can do a better job of just doing nothing, which I guess we shouldn't have to talk about how to do nothing, but work on de-stressing. So get rid of unnecessary pressure and stress. Pay attention to what is causing you stress. For me, that's easy because my Garmin watch does that. Like I could see where I was more stressed during the day, and I can usually equate that to like when I'm in a meeting or if I'm speaking at something, or, like what types of things, cause my body to get a little bit more worked up. So pay attention to that so you can identify now what types of breaks you need. I understand for me that when I'm coming out of meetings and I need time to like chill between, or, just certain buffers that allow me to get myself back balanced.
And after paying attention, you can take those daily timeouts. Like Lexi was saying, if you know that meetings drain you, maybe you don't schedule them hosts back to back to back to back. Maybe you have 15 minutes in between if you can. But also, I think scheduling, 2 to 5 minutes of mindfulness, of being present, of doing nothing, of gazing out of the window, walking around the block, whatever, can also help fortify and regulate your nervous system so that you're better able to handle those days when you have to have meetings that are back to back to back. Like building in those breaks, building in those intentional moments of idleness or peace or time for you to recharge can help you better show up for everything else, even on the stressful days.
Mm-hmm. Also, it's good to disconnect. So keep your phone in another room, turn everything off for a little while, challenge yourself to have X amount of time without screens, or just like leave it at the house and go for a walk or do something to where you don't even have it at all.
Yep. And especially right when you wake up and right before bed is a great time to practice that, at least 30 minutes, because it's supposed to help improve your sleep. And then the last one, and one I think that I love and it's super important, is to ground in nature. Any way you can get more sunshine on your skin, you can sniff flowers, touch grass, touch trees, hug trees, maybe whatever your thing is, like making sure you can get time in nature that helps our nervous systems, that helps our lives. There's a lot of research too. I started reading a book about like the ocean and how living closer to it, spending more time with it really affects like your system on a cellular level. And so there's a lot of science. It's not just like all frou-frou things. This is really important for you.
Yeah, so this week, look at your day-to-day. Think about where you can take more breaks. Notice how many breaks you even take or how much time you spend doing absolutely nothing. If it is less than 30 minutes in the week or whatever, then I would definitely pay attention and see if there's ways that you can incorporate more of that time. If you already do like a meditation study or feel that you do something to keep yourself refreshed, then I would recommend you get back into that. I know I definitely I be off and on of my meditation. Or I just kind of accept that it changes from time to time into maybe different types of things. But we can all tell when we're starting to get just like burnt out or tired or just kind of feeling like we're going through the motions. And if you're one of those people like me who always just feels like you're ready for another vacation, then let's start to think about how we can incorporate rest more effective rest into our daily lives.
Yep. Hit us at Carlie's Couch and let us know. Hope y'all have a great week and take some time to dilly-dally.
Peace.